Hello everyone, my name is Erik Mullins, and for about 9.5 years I've been working super hard on my own manga comic book called Blithe. And while I've been doing this, I've been watching tons and tons of anime. It's crazy. But every now and then, I do need a bit of a break. So, a lot of times, I actually watch some YouTubers. Like the one in question today, I'm going to be doing something totally new. I've never done this before. I watched the first minute of it, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make a reaction video to this. Because it's kind of something that I've followed since the beginning, and we'll get into that in a bit. The YouTuber I'm going to be following is Joey, otherwise known as the Anime Man. I always felt like if you had a big difference of opinion with him, you'd have such a chill and really good debate. And I love good conversations, so I thought it'd be fun to do a reaction video like this. Let's check it out, shall we? Alright, so here we are. My gosh, look at me in this tiny little box. I haven't done this in a while. Alright, and here's his channel. Be sure to go like, subscribe, and all that jazz if you literally haven't already. I kind of feel like people following me will be already following him. I don't know. And as you can see, I've already liked this video. I actually like a lot of his videos right off the bat because sometimes I completely forget. You know, I'm drawing and then the next video starts and the next video starts and the next video starts and I space out big time. So like, yeah, I try to like videos the second I'm on them, and then if I don't like them, I'll unlike it afterwards. That's something I'll remember more than adding the like. That's so negative. I gotta try and change that. Maybe I'll put like a little post-it somewhere that says, hey, like this video, brah. I'm going off track. Let's check out this video of nobody knows what anime is anymore.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy. So if you've been keeping up with recent anime news, you might know that there is a brand new anime that is making headlines for all sorts of different reasons.
Is it Frarian? No, it's not Frarian. I got to the part where he says what it is, so...
And that is this anime called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because it is an anime, a brand new anime.
He's really putting that anime title behind this whole thing, so I think he's already made his decision as whether this is an anime or not. Quick background about me and Scott Pilgrim. I've got the comics, I played the game, and I've really 100%ed that game. I've done everything, all the characters maxed out. I freaking love it. And I also really adore the film. The film is so awesome. I watched a few episodes of the show. I'm kind of going through it slowly. I don't know how I feel about it. I actually really love the story. I think it's really cool, and I love how every iteration of Scott Pilgrim, whether it be the game, the movie, the comic, or this, is all different. I just think that's cool. However, there's something off about the voice acting in this series that kind of gets to me. I should probably watch the Japanese subtitled version. I think it might match up a little bit better. But you have a lot of characters that the actresses are a little bit monotone in their voice, so hearing them talk in this show, and it's more monotone, I guess I'm just not really used to that for a cartoon. Also, the art style kind of makes me think of like Cal Arts aesthetics with a little touch of anime here and there, and it's cute. I like it.
Created originally taken from the source of the highly popular comic book series and movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World
by Brian O'Malley. Amazing.
A fantastic movie. I freaking love it. I've never read the comic books, but I have heard from a lot of Scott Pilgrim fans that the comic book is just as
Now, I find this interesting because he's really pushing anime behind this animated series, yet he's really referring to Mr. O'Malley's Scott Pilgrim as a comic book. I mean, the format is manga, but he's not Japanese. So, you know, you can make that distinction there. It's just, I mean, I guess it's like a half and half, kind of like my own, you know? I would never call Blithe a manga, but I couldn't call it a comic either. I like to call it something in between, so I usually just say manga comic. Anyway, let's just go on.
But if you thought this was a video of me reviewing the Scott Pilgrim anime, that's not what this is going to be, although I have been enjoying it so far. No, this is a discussion video that is going to go a lot further down the anime rabbit hole than you might think. Because if you've been on Twitter and you are familiar with the website My Anime List, which is a anime cataloging website that a lot of...
Ugh, Mal. Alright, so My Anime List is something that I've known its existence for a long time. I've been watching anime since the 80s, and only recently have I opened an account and started documenting everything I watch because I watch so much that, you know, sometimes I'll put something on and be like, oh shoot, I've already seen this. So I just started cataloging and putting things on My Anime List, but because I know it's going to take me like a whole day to go through it and fill everything out, it's just kind of a beast I don't want to get into, but that website is pretty efficient and awesome for people like myself, or perhaps you, that really watch a lot of stuff.
Anime fans use, myself included, to list out all of the favorite shows that you've watched, the least favorite shows you watch. Basically, it's a good way to keep up with the shows that are existing that might have fallen into your retinas at some point in your life. But according to a lot of people, my anime list have done a little bit of a whoopsie, because for some reason they have decided to not include Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the new Scott Pilgrim anime, as a legitimate entry into their database. Essentially, that is telling people that my anime list does not qualify Scott Pilgrim Takes Off as a legitimate anime. So I wanted to get to the bottom of this.
And I don't know if I would either, but you know what? We're gonna watch the rest of his video. I'm sure he's gonna bring up a bunch of amazing points. Clearly, he does see it as an anime because he keeps saying the anime Scott Pilgrim. At one point, doesn't anime just mean animated? I remember when I was younger, they would write Japanimation, but that just doesn't seem culturally appropriate. Regardless, anime... Shoot, you know what? Let's just keep going.
By doing a bit of a deep dive as to why this problem or controversy, I guess, started in the first place. Let's start off, though, with this page right here on my anime list, which is called the Database Guidelines for Anime. And obviously, as you can see, this was posted in 2007, which was quite a while ago, by the lead admin of my anime.
That was a very long time ago. I mean, that's long enough for things like Cyberpunk 2077 to come out and really kind of make that a gray area. It's also gray when you think about the Castlevania franchise. It's gray when you think of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, there's all these shows that come out that kind of really are inspired or inspire other things. I mean, heck, even Cowboy Bebop, that's clearly an anime, but its storytelling and structure is 100% Western. So they're telling a Western-style animated story to you, but because it's made in Japan, it's considered an anime. I mean, even the character designs look far more Western than they would usually. I mean, all right, whatever. I'm going off. Let's just keep going here.
A list that explicitly states in a very, very fine tooth comb detail as to what exactly my anime list qualifies as an anime. Because obviously there are a lot of definitions for what the West deems as anime. So
just to pop this in real quick, I usually just use anime as terminology to be able to explain to friends or people that might not know that are around me or that I'll see at parties what I'm watching. Because the word anime in general carries a lot of weight. When I say anime, people are immediately going to have assumptions in their head over what they would have if I said, like, adult cartoon show.
But let's see what the actual website in question deems as anime and see if Scott Pilgrim falls under that category. There are two common ways to define anime in the community. One is based on country of origin, and one is based on character design and style. Since the word anime is currently a hot topic, I mean, 2007 lead admin had no idea where anime was about to go. Some services prefer to go the style route because it offers them more flexibility with marketing. Understandable. However, from a database perspective, style is extremely hard to define when each service has their own ideas about what should be labeled as anime.
Ain't that the truth? Like I said with Cowboy Bebop.
So, on my anime list, a work is considered to be an anime if it meets all of the following. Let's go through all of them, shall we? Number one, it's animated. Works with minimal to no animated scenes do not count. This includes manga panels or visual novel style stills with and without voice acting. Scott Pilgrim falls under that. An exception is made for picture drama specials created for existing anime franchises. That obviously doesn't fit in. Stop motion works using clay or cutouts are allowed. Stop motion using live actors or regular objects do not count since they lack character and background creation, which is a bit of an interesting one, but still doesn't apply to Scott Pilgrim. So far, we're in the clear. Now, here's where things start to get a little bit sticky with this number two. It's created by professional staff in Japan for the Japanese market. Joint productions, independent doujinshi anime, Ani, and Donghua are also allowed under certain conditions.
That's quite the interesting prerequisite to being considered an anime. You know, I guess it goes with culture, right? It's gonna feel like an anime because the director that's putting everything together, tag team with the writer and the rest of the team, are really marketing towards predominantly a Japanese market, and because of that, their storytelling is going to be vastly different than something that you're marketing towards a Western market. It's not to say that the Western market won't enjoy it. I'm just saying that their main idea in their head is, if we're going to write, let's say, a romance, something like Saikano, How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, they're going to write that specifically for a Japanese market, and it's part of why Saikano did so well in Japan. Meanwhile, over here, it did I guess just not as well, despite it being pretty good. It's very, very cultural.
And it says to go check out section 1.1 and 1.2. So let's go down to 1.1 and 1.2 right here. Anime editions. Country of origin. Animated works must be created in Japan for the Japanese market, in Korea for the Korean market, in China, Hong Kong, blah, blah, blah. So we're only really focused here on the Japan for the Japanese market, which if you take a look at another very big anime website, Anime News Network, they've actually done a good job of giving us all of the necessary staff details that will help us get to the bottom of, well, is this a Japanese production made for a Japanese audience? Let's find out. Here we have the Scott Pilgrim anime staff listing, and
oh my gosh, the music. The music is so good to this TV show. But it's made by the person who did the music for the video game, so like, it's just so amazing. I can't stress that enough. The music is fantastic in this show.
Themes, insert themes, and here we go. Japanese staff and Japanese cast. I'm just gonna quickly scroll down here to show you, wow, that is that's a lot of Japanese stuff that I'm seeing right now.
All right. So that's kind of an interesting way to say something, because it's not, I don't think it's about the worker bees that you have doing everything for you, but I think it's about the main person doing all the major storytelling and who has the real control over how the story should be told. Because everything from scene changes to how fluid they want certain parts of their animation to be, to what kind of angles they want, and what kind of story they're telling, along with how they're going to tell it, is very important, because it's not done the same way for an American cartoon, or Western cartoon, sorry, as much as one you would see from Japan. So if you've got a whole team of Japanese people that work on a project, but at the end of the day, the person that's calling all the major shots is not Japanese, that's going to really impact the way the story is told and the market it's directed towards.
That is a lot of Japanese stuff, and there are even multiple Japanese companies that worked on this through Second Key Animations, background art, color.
I'm like actually surprised about this because, look, I haven't gotten that far in the series. I've only watched a few episodes, but I gotta say that, one, the backgrounds they kind of lack a bit of luster. The show is incredibly glitchy. Like, when they're moving around and doing stuff, it's almost feels like stop animation. It's just not smooth, which kind of bugs me. Unless it's the fight scenes, like the fight scenes are actually smooth as heck, but when it comes to just regular hanging around, talking, drinking tea, and things like that, it's so glitchy.
Composition, all that kind of stuff. But I think this list is clearly proof that, yes, this is indeed a Japanese production. This is further highlighted when we scroll all the way down to this list and look at the English staff and the English cast. And look at this English.
Well, like, obviously the main person who wrote it is clearly not Japanese, but I've got no problem with that, because there's anime that are back in the day that they would take from series that already existed outside of Japan, and then they would just retell the story in their own fashion. So, like, if somebody that was Japanese picked up this Scott Pilgrim series and said, I want to make a show about this, I'm going to do it my way, and it's going to be my interpretation, then, that really does change the whole. Like I said, it's all about culture. So the way that person's going to write it, it's going to be affiliated to how they grew up in Japan and the experiences they had, versus the other person who, came from the West.
Staff list. That's it. Right there. I can.
So we've got music, original creator, all the a bunch of executive producers, casting, but of course, I mean, that's not fair. Like, that's just the actors from the movie. Music editing. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I'm just curious about the main director. Like,
Literally
where
fit
are they? Like,
everyone into
the main
this
person calling
single
all the real
screen right
shots.
here. That is the entirety of the English staff that worked on the Scott Pilgrim anime versus all of these people.
Right, but I win $1 billion tomorrow. I make an anime cartoon of my comic book manga Blithe, and I get it made in Japan by all those people. But I'm still the one that wants all the control. I'm still the main director and I'm still the main writer. So would that make it an anime if literally everything about it was Japanese, with the exception that I'm the one that has full control and I'm using my own experiences throughout my own culture and my way of telling my story and my editing and my cuts and the way I work the animation? Like, I don't know. That's, you know what? That's, I don't know.
All of these Japanese people that worked in every single position that an anime company offers. Not to mention that in the marketing of Scott Pilgrim, they explicitly state that this Scott Pilgrim anime was created by Science Saru Studios, which, for those of you who don't know who Science Saru are, they are basically the ones responsible for a lot of anime, and I mean legit anime that My Anime List has on their site. Ping Pong the Animation, Space Dandy, Devilman Crybaby, Keep Your Hands Off Azoken, Japan Sinks 2020, and of course right here.
So, oh yeah, he's about to say Scott Pilgrim, but moving up there, we've got Star Wars Visions. That's a really good example, because Star Wars Visions, it's Star Wars, right? So the IP is clearly Western, but if the director and the person writing and everybody doing everything from their perspective it's coming from Japan, I mean, that's like saying we get a Japanese director and a Japanese writer to come over to the West and make a Western cartoon show. You know, like, if they make their Western cartoon show, I'm so curious. How would that look? How would it turn out? And how would the people receive it over here?
Here, Scott Pilgrim takes off, and I guess they're helping out with Dan Da Dan as well. That's good to know. So already, they're kind of being a little bit hypocritical here with the country of origin and the guidelines that Anime List specifically set out to make. Now, granted, again, this guideline was made back in 2007, which was over 15 years ago at this point. And obviously 15 years ago, the world of anime looked very, very different, and most of what we now define as anime were in fact made in Japan with Japanese staff for a Japanese audience. But
some people had a lot of money and they saw what was becoming popular. They saw what was rising in fame. So they went over there and got teams over there to work on their own things for them to try and increase the popularity of whatever it is that they had the IP of, like Star Wars.
the way that anime has now shifted since those 15 years, especially with the way that it's marketed and the way that it's made in terms of staff, in terms of market, like demographic who watch the shows, it's a lot different to 2007. But let's check out the second.
That's true. A lot more people are open to anime in general, which is fantastic, man. I remember back in the 90s, I go on about how great Evangelion was, and people be like, that's a children's cartoon. You're watching little cartoons for children.
Part here that was specifically mentioned: production staff. Works must be produced by reputable animation companies with professional animation creators in the country of origin. Science Saru are pretty reputable. They've made some amazing anime series that everybody can agree is anime, so
Absolutely.
Obviously that is a clear. Joint productions must have at least one professional animation creator from the first part in a key position with creative control over the production, e.g. director, script, storyboard, character design.
So I wouldn't put character design in there at all. I would pull that out. You don't need that. That's super subjective. But the storyboard, script, and director, I think all three of them should be Japanese if you want this to be considered a solid anime. If it's just one out of these three, I mean, it's three, right? So if you got two Japanese people and one from anywhere else, well, then, it's mostly anime. And then if you all of a sudden change that up a bit, then it becomes less and less anime,
etc. If we go back to the Anime News Network list here, it says here, okay, director is obviously a non-Japanese person. That's fine.
Thank you. Actually, because he kept scrolling through super quick, I couldn't see it. For real, like that kind of solidifies it for me. The fact that the director and the main writer are not Japanese, that's two 2 out of the 3. And I see here we got some storyboarders, and yeah, for the most part, they all look like they're Japanese, with the exception of the main director. That's the one that has all the real control. So the storyboarder is going to make it more artistically, and I would like to say it cuts more like it cuts more like an anime, but watching the show, I don't think it does. Like, it really does feel like I'm watching an American cartoon, something akin to Steven Universe or maybe Gravity Falls, though the animation quality is nowhere near those two shows, which is kind of unfortunate. I think that it should have been a lot smoother, but I don't know what kind of budget that they were playing with this show. I know that they put a lot of money in those voice actors from the movie, and I personally, I would have just hired new voice actors for most of the parts, except for maybe Aubrey Plaza. Oh, she's just so good. Oh, and Patel. I don't remember the name of the actor. It's like eluding me right now, but the actor that plays Patel, he's so good, and he has so much emotion in his voice, so he just did a fantastic job.
Is obviously based off of a non-Japanese show, but right here, lead script writer is Tsukasa Kondo, who did the Japanese translation.
Now, Japanese translation as the script writer. So, who's the actual script writer? Because that's the translator, right? So he's going to translate it for the Japanese audience. Oh, I'm so curious how this show is in Japanese, honestly, with the subtitles. I feel like I have to watch this whole show like that. It probably might be a completely different show.
Also, there is a ton of storyboard people, ton of episode directors, ton of character designers. The
character designers is a little weird again, because the characters in the show just look like in the comic. So, I mean, they drew like a couple of the sketches, the faces, and they're like, does this look good? It sure does, because they're hiring a team, right? So if they're hiring a whole team to work on the project, and the team is a Japanese team, of course that these are going to be Japanese people. And the art director, of course, because that's part of the team that you hired. Again, I think that the 4 things that they wrote at the beginning, well, I actually preferred the 3, but director, storyboarder, and the main writer.
Art director is Japanese. Obviously, sound director is Japanese, and 2 executive producers who are Japanese staff. So obviously, a lot of the top position, granted, maybe not the director, which is obviously the biggest position in any kind of, film or...
That's true, because they're the ones that are going to tell you, this is how I want my show to be done. Like I said, if I won $1 billion and I made an anime cartoon out of my series, would it be an anime or would it be a cartoon?
Like, moving media and stuff like that, like anime, but pretty much all of the other key staff members are Japanese. So again, just looking at this as a ratio, because obviously English and Japanese staff were included, and it's a kind of a nice mixture, but obviously we are looking right now that there are a lot of Japanese staff right here. But obviously this is a discussion video. I don't want to just come onto camera here and shit all over my anime list for making a boo-boo, which they obviously have, and the
see, it's because you're coming at it from you're coming at it from a fair direction, in which my anime list had said were the prerequisites. So based off of my anime's prerequisites, I would say, you know what, you're right. It should be considered an anime. I think that their prerequisites aren't defined nearly enough.
Internet is definitely not shutting up about it. No, the reason why I wanted to kind of cover this particular story here is to kind of try and discuss, have an adult discussion on what exactly anime even is. Because I think as a Western viewer of anime, or you look at anime from a Western, non-Japanese perspective, things like Scott Pilgrim are indeed anime. Yes, they might not have like a 100% Japanese staff list or even intended for a Japanese audience, but again, based on the My Anime List guidelines, it is an anime. The other argument I saw a lot of, which was...
Plus, hypothetically, let's say we take Steven Universe and we ship it off to the Japanese market. Are they going to say, American cartoon? Western cartoon? Or are they going to be like, watch this anime because of what the word actually means? In Japan, the word anime doesn't necessarily mean the same thing that it means in the West.
Kind of dumb in my opinion was, well, the original source material of this anime is non-Japanese, so I get why they didn't decide to put the anime version as a Japanese production. I
do think that's dumb. I think that has no bearing on it, because like with Star Wars, even the Matrix back in the day, they had the Animatrix, and they actually hired whole teams, including the writers, to tell their own stories and their own perspectives of something that would occur in that world. I mean, I'll never forget the one with the Cowboy Bebop creator. Oh my gosh, me and my memory. And the story he did with the detective, it was so well done. It felt very Western because of the way that that writer does his thing, but it was still considered an anime because everything about it, including the inception of the story, was all from somebody who's from Japan. So their culture has an impact on how they told their story, regardless if he did it with much more of a Western style.
Yet at the same time, they probably also fail to realize that there are a ton of anime series and anime series that everybody can agree is a legitimate anime that have also been based on non-Japanese sources. Like, look at the Ghibli movie When Marnie Was There. Do you think Ghibli or Yonebayashi came up with that story? No, they literally took the source material of the novel from the same name written in the 60s by a woman.
I love how there's so many like obvious choices he could have taken, like Star Wars or the Animatrix and a few others, and he literally went with When Marnie Was There. But you know what? I don't know. Like, he's from the other side of the pond, so maybe he grew up reading this when he was younger. I have no clue, but I still find that interesting. Like, you dug deep, Joey.
Who was British? Also, what about Porter Robinson's Shelter music video? That is included on my...
I love that illustration, but you don't... Oh, shoot, you can't see it because of the way that my video's cut. Curses while Shelter, Porter Robinson. Very nice illustration for the cover of that
anime list as a legitimate entry. And yet, again, if you think about it, it was spearheaded by a non-Japanese guy, intended not specifically just for the Japanese audience. The only reason why it was put on my anime list is because a Japanese animation company was held to make the actual music video anime. No hate to When Marnie Was There or My Boy Porter, though. They're both amazing pieces of media, so please watch them and support them. What I'm trying to say...
I feel like this is going to start a reckoning. I mean, if my anime list wants to not own up to what their mistake is based off of their own criteria, and I'm going to say it like that because it's as diplomatic as I can think about it, they're going to have to go through and start removing all those shows that are like that he just mentioned, if they want to go with their own criteria.
Is that the word anime, at least according to how the West views it, has a definition that is very fluid and not stable. What you can say is an anime might not be deemed as an anime to another anime fan, and vice versa. Obviously, I can't avoid bringing up this as a point of contexture, but look at when Avatar: The Last Airbender came out. Oof. There are so many videos online of people arguing over, oh, is Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime or is it a non-anime? Because obviously the style and how that show looks is very anime-centric.
I would say that it's just heavily influenced by anime. The thing is that the frames per second, which shouldn't really be about that, but the way that things are animated are nothing like the way that an animated team in Japan would have put it together. Not to mention that their storytelling, like I was saying earlier, it matters. It really matters because what you grew up with, wherever you're from in the world, will influence the kind of person that you are. So when you're telling stories, when you're doing editing, when you're doing storyboarding, when you're directing, when you're writing, all of that comes into play based off of who you are and what you grew up with. So that's kind of how I personally am able to define my differences between a cartoon from the West or an anime.
And it's very, very obvious that the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender look to traditional anime as huge points of inspiration when creating Avatar: The Last Airbender. Not just in terms of like the style and how the characters look, but also the way it was animated, and even the story points as well reads like a typical shonen anime. But if we look at
that, I don't agree with. It doesn't have that classic shonen like, oh, I'm super good. Oh no, but I'm a little stronger. But then I get a little stronger. Then I get a little stronger. It doesn't really do that, you know? Like, Aang either goes from 0 to 100 when he goes into his avatar state, but he's literally learning how to use all the different elements throughout the whole series. And when it comes to physical combat, he's already at peak right from the beginning. Like, he's making jokes and messing with people all around. I feel like... I mean, even filler-wise, there's little to no filler in a series like Avatar because it's not based off of something that they needed to wait and for like a writer to catch up. they were just making it straight off the bat as their cartoon series. So the filler episodes would mostly just be character development or fun side relaxing episodes before, like to basically kind of even you out before they start hitting some climaxes in their storytelling. I would not compare it to a shonen at all. But I guess that's really just my own personal view on it.
Things in a technical sense, there is not a single Japanese staff member, or at least a key staff member, nor a studio that was involved in creating the original Avatar: The Last Airbender animation. So is it safe to say that it's an anime? Look, my personal opinion on it is I freaking love Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is an amazing show, anime or not. But if I had to define the show, I would say that it is an anime-inspired cartoon. It is not necessarily an anime, if we're looking at it in technical terms. Does me saying that delegitimize Avatar: The Last Airbender as an amazing show and that it shouldn't be a show that anime fans can enjoy as much?
And this is where we stop the video. How could you say that, Joey? It's so good. No, I'm just joking. He's for sure gonna fix it up here.
Just non-anime fans? No, absolutely not. But what's interesting is that this whole debate on what exactly an anime is, believe it or not, an argument that really only exists outside of Japan. Because this will blow your weeb mind. If you look up the word anime or anime on Japanese Wikipedia, they are very succinct and straight to the point on what exactly an anime is according to a Japanese person. It says here that the word anime is a shortened form of the word animation or animation.
I said
and
that
that
at the
it
beginning.
defines any piece of visual media that uses animation. And that anime made in Japan is commonly referred to as Japanese animation. So as you can see just from Wikipedia, because everybody knows Wikipedia doesn't lie, the word anime in Japan has a very different meaning to the rest of the world.
In Japan, it's just like a technical term. So like here, it should have been just a technical term, but at this point, then you would make the argument, well, okay, they're not going to use the term anime when they're talking about their own shows or even shows from the West, but they're going to say Japanese animation. So will they call something from the West a Japanese animation if all the key people that worked on it were all Japanese, but everything else wasn't? I don't think so. I don't think Japan is like that. I think Japan would be like, no, it's got to be all here. It's all or nothing kind of thing.
If we take this Japanese definition of the word anime literally, then any animated piece of media is anime. Yes, that's right. That means things like Shrek, Toy Story, The Simpsons, Finding Nemo, every Disney film you can think of, every DreamWorks Pixar film you can think of, and yes, even the Scott Pilgrim anime, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and every single anime that is in the My Anime List database is included as anime. Now, does that mean that the West should like fully adopt this word in the way that the Japanese intended it to? I don't think we should, because
nah, me neither. I still am a firm believer that the term of anime is just used to be able to have an easier time defining certain things when you're having a conversation with somebody.
as much as the definition of the word anime in the West is very annoying and confusing and always creates an argument amongst anime fans, it is also a very convenient word to use as well, especially for non-anime fans. I feel most of the time the people who use the word anime in these like very strict terms are people who are just like really die hard with anime, or is a word that non-anime fans use to describe every cartoon that they probably didn't grow up watching on Sunday mornings. Because it's also a really useful word to just make a clear distinction on the stuff that's made in Japan or was inspired by Japan and the stuff that was just kept in-house in the West. And
if I could only just like reach into this television, take his little Galaxy Express, it looks like an animation cell, and then put it on my wall. Oh, I love that movie. And I love that old school art style. I'm a huge fan.
And because of that, the word anime has just gathered a bunch of people who are obsessed with these Japanese animations and created an entire community around it, which I am also a happy member of. Look, at the end of the day, I think this whole argument is pretty pointless if you look at it deep.
Yes. The only thing that really matters is good writing, good directing, good storytelling. I include storyboarding with the storytelling. I say storytelling because I'm so used to like writing my comic manga. So it's like storyboarding. Like, if you're watching something and it's really well done, that's all I ever ask for. But, you know, the whole point of having this kind of debate is just so when you're having a debate, you're able to use certain words in order to express yourself properly.
Deep into the nooks and crannies, because there is no correct answer of what the word anime actually means. And it truly is a very subjective word. Like, literally, you can call any piece of animation anime if you want, and technically, you're not wrong. Someone who calls Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime is just as correct as the person who calls it not an anime. But to give the benefit of the doubt, I do think that my anime list still made a bit of a fuck up here, because they are still being the most hypocritical, and they should put the Scott Pilgrim anime.
I feel like if they do, then it's just going to open all these floodgates. Like I said, Castlevania and shows like that where they're loosely art stylized to resemble anime, but I mean, the storytelling is so not anime, it's ridiculous, and the directing not anime whatsoever. The dialogue, oh my gosh, that dialogue, could you imagine an anime that had like that kind of dialogue? Like, it was just so poorly written half the time, and I mean, it's not to say that there aren't anime with poorly written dialogue. Yes, of course there are. I'm just saying the words that they would use to define certain things and how creative they be with their stupid swear words half the time, where you feel like you're watching an episode of Game of Thrones. So it's just, and I, not exactly like Game of Thrones. I would say it's significantly worse with their made up swear words, and it just didn't fit the times. This is not a Castlevania talking video adventure. Back to the video.
Into my anime list. Otherwise, they should get rid of a lot of anime series that are very similar position-wise to the Scott Pilgrim anime that are currently still on my anime list as legitimate shows. So yeah, this was just like a really great excuse for me to kind of go deep into this conversation, because it really is an interesting one, because again, it is very subjective of how the West views that word, even though Japan does have its concrete definition, which obviously no one in the West adopts because it's probably not convenient for them. And that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a convenience matter. Like, people like
100%.
using and having clear definitions on the word anime in their own different ways, because it's just a convenient way to describe something that they otherwise would not be able to describe. Because for some reason, people have this like weird stigma against calling something a cartoon, because I think the West uses that word to talk about like children's shows.
And yes, they do. I mean, Gravity Falls is like one of my favorite shows. Star vs. the Forces of Evil was super fun. I really like Steven Universe, and the film was just so fun. I grew up loving tons of cartoons. DuckTales was great. A lot of these shows are for kids, but they always have that little, I guess, that back end that are for a more adult audience, like Batman the Animated Series, like, well, the whole DC animated universe from back in the day. You've got that new Harley Quinn show. That's a cartoon, but now they always add like adult animated series rather than the word cartoon, because when you say cartoon, it does kind of make you think of something that's for children. This way, adult animated series, it's just a different way to define it, like using the word anime.
When that's obviously not the case nowadays. There are and have always been Western cartoons that have been aimed towards children, yes, but there are also a lot of Western cartoons that were aimed towards an adult generation as well. And Japanese anime is exactly the same. At the end of the day, I'm enjoying the Scott Pilgrim anime so far. It is really fascinating to watch something that has turned from an Edgar Wright film, or I guess originally a comic book, to an Edgar Wright film, to a Japanese production anime, like just how that transition is going. And I've been enjoying the show so far. Again, I'm only like a couple of episodes in. I definitely have to watch more, but hey, I'm liking it so far. Do I think it's an anime or not an anime? At the end of the day, I really don't care. At the end of the day, as long as the show is good and I have a good time watching it, that's all that matters. Either way, let me know your thoughts and opinions about anything I said in this video down in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. What do you personally define as an anime? Not what you think it should be defined as. What do you yourself define as an anime, and how do you come to that distinction between what is not anime and what is anime? Take a shot for every time I said the word anime in this video. You'll be dead by like 3 minutes in. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack my face right here, subscribe to the...
All right, so that was that. This was my first like reaction video sort of thing. I guess it wasn't like as super reactive as it could have been, because I really like the way that the anime man expresses himself. It's pretty down to earth and always open to interpretation or for an open discussion, which is always fantastic. I don't think I really need to say what I think an anime is. I'm pretty sure that I've established that multiple times, but just to quickly reiterate, writing, directing, storyboarding, I think those are the three most important elements. Everything else that kind of follows that, they're just the worker bees trying to get you to realize your vision with these three people. So they don't have the same kind of control. They might have a bit of an influence here or there, but at the end of the day, the main one calling the shots is the chief. And, you know, like, that director, the second that they're putting their foot down, the second that they dip their fingers into the cookie jars of the character designs or the storyboarding or any of that, then things are going to start to change. For sure, they'll be open, again, to taking criticisms or to be able to manipulate things the way somebody might suggest. Like, it's just, at the end of the day, does that make it an anime? I mean, I've been writing, illustrating, and self-publishing my own manga comic. I do everything, just like a manga artist, but I color as well. I spend 14 hours a day just drawing hardcore, working really insanely on it, like a manga artist. I get sick sometimes because I push myself too far, I don't get enough sleep, like a manga artist. My illustrations are very anime, manga inspired. I'm a huge fan of specific types of artists that have inspired me over the years. Some of them are Western, most of them aren't. They're mostly from Japan. My storytelling, however, is 100% Western. And the way you read my book and my paneling, it's all Western. So, like, how would this comic be perceived? You know, I don't have a huge group of Japanese people backing me up whatsoever. But again, if I made $1 billion and I turned this into a TV show where I'm the one with all the creative control, would it be an anime? Personally, I just don't think so. I don't think so. Japan kind of said it the best, where they're like, it needs to be a Japan animation, and I'm pretty sure that that just means everything. Maybe you can have one or two people, but the people at the top, I'm pretty sure they all need to be Japanese. So I guess it becomes less and less of an anime, the less the three golden seats of power are taken up by someone from the West or a different culture. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments about this and you have different an opinion, please write so in the comment section below, because I would love to hear it. This is such a great debate and I always love having it. You know, just because I see things a certain way, like I was saying earlier, I grew up with a specific type of culture and I've seen things a certain way. So it really skews my vision, just like everyone else's vision gets skewed. We're all pretty subjective on the matter. So, you know, please write in the comment section. This is a great sort of topic. I think it's really cool. I think that the Anime Man, again, is amazing for getting into something like this because it's so heated, you know, and he was pretty diplomatic in most of it, with the exception that he kept pushing the name anime at the beginning of Scott Pilgrim every 2 seconds, because clearly he's chosen his side. If you like this video just a little, it doesn't cost much to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you can be notified of my future episodes. I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do like this again, where it's like just reaction videos, but this was pretty fun, and I don't know, it was cool. Back to the anime and the figure stuff for me. Anyway, have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. You. Yeah, I'm talking to you. If you haven't played the Scott Pilgrim video game, you need to go out there and do it. It is absolutely amazing. The music is amazing. The gameplay is super fun. 4 players at the same time. I'll tell you what, while you're taking those shots every single time that Joey's saying the word anime, play that game at the same time with your friends, and you'll all be getting drunk playing that game. It'll just be really great. You'll have a fantastic time. It's fun.